Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Well, today we're going to have a little bit of a reality check. It occurred to me that when I put information out there and I say to you, oh, with a little bit of a search this and you can find this and that, and my kind of assumption that perhaps you would go away from a video and want to continue looking at the information. And I realize not a lot of people will do that, not a lot of people have the time to do that, and perhaps I could be a little more clear in some of the things I've said. So we're going to kind of clean a couple of things up today. We're going to expand on a couple of things today. And I'm going to give you some reasons behind some of the opinions I hold. And we're going to look at the events of the day and what I think is going on. Um, Now, first of all, my last video, where it's my opinion that the 60s, that the decade was a psyop. And how did this happen? One thing I'm going to reference for you to look at, where a lot of this information came from, was the author Dave McGowan, MC capital GOWAN. He wrote a book, Strange Days in the Canyon. He's talking about California and the 60s and the rise of the musicians and the rise of the actors, the whole hippie counterculture movement, Timothy Leary, the anti-war movement that indeed preceded the whole hippie movement, Summer of Love kind of thing, and the connections he makes are incredible. He's got a book out there, several. What I urge you to do is just put that into your YouTube search, Dave McGowan. He's done many interviews when the book came out. A lot of them go back like in 2014, but hey, the information is out there and it is compelling. And whether you believe that the whole thing was a psyop, just the coincidence of connections of the characters that you're going to be reading about or hearing about in the interviews, blow your mind. It's information everybody needs to have. So I really encourage you to look at that. And it might change your mind about things. And as it pertains to today's society and what's going on in the world right now, is that was a clear example of social conditioning with the cooperation of the government, cooperation of organizations like the World Economic Forum and other think tanks that work to move society and politics in the direction that, they want it to go. And all these things work together with the alphabet agencies. And you will find, just as I stated in my video yesterday, the front men and women of a lot of these social movements, don't you know, coincidentally just happen to have been brought in by an alphabet agency to use as an agent, such as Gloria Steinem, Timothy Leary, indeed, Oswald. Yeah, all the way back to Kennedy, you betcha. They use patsies to push their agenda. Here we go again. Give you some backstory and how it relates right to today, Harry and Meghan. Meghan it's my contention, is being used. She's being protected. I mean, there's a bit of a golden goose there with the whole racism agenda and pushing that, especially, because in the schools they're trying to push critical race theory, and it's all very triggering, and cultural appropriation and blackface, and so it's perfect cancel culture fodder to have somebody like Meghan Markle as almost a spokesperson for this little piece of the agenda. So she's valuable, she's useful to that degree. Now, I think that, they've put one over. There's more powerful people in the world. The people that are using Meghan are a lot more powerful than she even thinks she is. They lure her with the prospect of, oh, one day you're going to be president. Well, look at just recently Gavin Newsom, the governor. She tries to get a hold of him because she's trying to grab Senator Feinstein's seat in the Senate. And she's putting it out there, phoning Gavin Newsom like, hey, I want that seat. This is how important she thinks she is. Well, apparently he shut her down and is not accepting her calls anymore. So she's been shut out by the very organization, the government, that she's been, dangled a carrot. This is what we're going to give you. She's starting to overstep her boundaries just a little bit. But there's an interesting twist with her as well. The reason she was brought in the first place is the whole backstory, which I have covered. That Soho House is the connector of everything. That whole scenario and the connections with Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew and Marcus Anderson, that whole web of intrigue lies at the real reason Meghan's being protected. You see, she's managed to mix with some pretty important people whose the powers that be don't want those names out there in any connection to what the subject matter might be. So they have got to keep her under control. They've got to protect her and keep her under control at the same time. Now, Prince Harry, this is a little bit different because of his stature as a prince of the British Isles, of Great Britain. He does have international stature because of the British royal family's connection with organizations such as the World Economic Forum. Not only do they have to be dealt with some deference in a certain way, but also, bad analogy, but what a jewel in your crown. If you can draw somebody like that in to do your bidding. And that's what they've done. Before, going back 2017 and earlier, Harry was courting the liberals, the Democrats in the States, just as they were courting him. They want to, if you can get a project going with a royal prince, it's bound to get some international attention. So he was already had dealings with the Bidens going back to 2017. They wanted to draw him in. He was in talks with Oprah, that whole mental health thing, which the whole Meghan and Harry shit show overshadowed completely, but that's another story. I mean, they were in talks with Harry for projects before Meghan even came along. Now, with Harry, you've got him on 2 continents fighting the concept of free speech, fighting the concept of personal autonomy, freedom of movement, freedom of travel. His traveler scheme, oh, you want to be a conscious, save the world traveler. The hypocrisy. I mean, no. Everything he's involved with is a program that in some capacity is going to cost you your rights. This is what he's all about. Now, as we've seen with all these social programming, there is the social conditioning. And I'll tell ya, social events, just like the hippie anti-war, just like the hippie movement in the 60s, this whole woke movement, the LGB alphabet people, some lives matter more than others. All of this woke ideology is another example of social conditioning, even if you don't realize it. The governments are backing it. The alphabet agencies are backing it. The World Economic Forum and other think tank type organizations, social organizations that drive policy and work to change policy, they're behind it as social conditioning. So here you got a prominent guy as kind of the face of some of this very social conditioning. And as we know, as we've seen in the past a lot of time, the front men and women for these social movements somehow are usually agents of the CIA. Just oddly, that seems to happen. And so you gotta wonder, could Harry be an agent of the CIA? Could Harry be secret agent man? There is some credible thought that, just look at this whole freedom of information to-do that's happening with the Heritage Foundation trying to get to the bottom of Harry's visa details. Did he lie on his application? Was he even asked? Considering the timeline of when they did fly into the States, was he even ever questioned? Because of his position and privilege, was he just, allowed to do really whatever the heck he wants? So, in any regard, and of course now, while these freedom of information requests are being made, the government's trying to block it at every turn to not let this information out. Harry's being protected by the American government. And you have to ask, why? Is he indeed an agent for change? Or is it just because he's such a prominent person and there's an interest in not ruffling feathers between the US and British government right now? If Harry were exposed or caught out or a big to-do, it would be an embarrassment for the British government and the British royal family. And as we know, conditions between Biden and the king, you know, they're not real good right now. So something like that would not be advantageous to come out. There's a lot of reasons maybe why he's being protected. But there's also the possibility that they've drawn him in. And that is something that, at least in this present time, we may never know. I mean, if it does come out, chances are it'll come out years from now. But what we can do is watch, and we can kind of watch his behavior, see what happens, and maybe make some of our own assumptions about what's going on. But that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to question everything. We're supposed to look at everything. We're supposed to think and research and try to understand what's really going on, so we have half a bloody chance here. You know, so we got to look at this stuff. And when you look at Harry and Meghan, wow, it's just shady from one end to the other. But these are things that, you know, that the future holds. Anyway, hope you liked this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification button so you know when I do upload a video, and share this. Leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you're thinking, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.